Hi, and welcome to IndieDaze. In our final legacy interview, we're going to hear from Kathryn Hatam. Kathryn, I met through a mutual acquaintance when I was shooting my second feature in 2014 and was looking for a producing mind. Kathryn has a producing mind. She was part of the reason that production ran so smoothly. She was our SAG rep. Any concerns with the cast, she would handle it. Any concerns with the crew, she wasn't afraid to step in and see what she could do without me even knowing. As a director, I was often busy running around, even though I was often wearing a producing hat and a directing hat. She was able to handle things that I never had to find out about. And that's a mark of a good producer, protecting your director. So Kathryn, I enjoyed working with tremendously, brought incredible value to the production, and I want you to hear about her journey and a little bit about her experience with her first feature film. Hi, and welcome to another edition of IndieDaze, a media tool for filmmakers by filmmakers. Today we have with us Kathryn Hatam. Welcome, Kathryn.
Hi there. Nice to see you.
You too. Kathryn, tell me what you do in independent filmmaking.
Well, right now I am a producer with Alexander Films. It's a really fun job. I suggest it.
Why would you recommend that?
As a producer, I feel like I'm very lucky in that I get to touch on a lot of different aspects of filmmaking. I get to do everything from planning out an original film to breaking down a script to budgeting to starting to help with casting to working with actors, working with crew. Just seeing a production from beginning to end, I think, is very rewarding.
Now, you touched on some things like budgeting and breaking down scripts. Like, that doesn't sound like a lot of fun.
Sometimes it isn't. That is very true. But if you have kind of the mentality where you want to see things very well organized, which I will admit that sometimes I'm a little OCD about, breaking down a script and doing a successful budget is very satisfying. You get to know that everything is covered as far as your bases, you're taking care of your people, and that you'll have enough money to see a film to successful completion.
Good. Now, I understand you have a background in theater, primarily from high school, maybe?
High school and college a little bit. Unfortunately, when I got to college, I didn't major in theater, so it was kind of hard to balance the schoolwork plus the extracurricular activities along with being in full-time theater productions. During high school, though, I did get a chance to be a part of a ton of different theater companies, everything from local, semi-local, as well as even professional. Mill Mountain Theater in Roanoke, Virginia, brought in a couple of traveling shows, which were great. And I was a part of Soup, Soap, and Salvation, which, if you haven't heard of, it's a great musical that was an original screenplay written for the rescue mission here in Roanoke. So that was a fun experience. During college, I had a great time, did Working, which is a wonderful musical. But I definitely missed it when I got back into the working world. So being in kind of this new environment is really exciting for me.
Now, you have an education, a bachelor's as I understand it.
Mm-hmm.
Is that in film or communication?
It's not, actually. I have a little bit of a mixed bag of experience. I had the theater background in high school and then started to get into it a little bit in college, but I majored in international affairs, concentrated in the Middle East, and minored in psychology at George Washington University. So, not typical.
So how does that work with your film experiences as a producer?
Well, as I mentioned, it's definitely a mixed bag. In international affairs, you learn about a lot of different cultures and a lot of different ways to read and write things, which was definitely helpful becoming a producer. Reading a lot of information when it came to SAG guidelines or powering through scripts and making sure that I could do that quickly and effectively. So I think that my major definitely helped there. Psychology as my minor was helpful and is helpful when it deals with people in general, because most jobs do. Not that I'm a pro at it, but definitely seeing the different interactions between folks and trying to understand where they're coming from and have that degree of empathy. Hopefully, I succeed at sometimes.
Now, a lot of times actors get a bad rap. You know, they're difficult to work with on set. Not all actors, but you typically hear that. As a producer, would you say the actors were, and you don't have to be, obviously no names, but specifically, were the actors more difficult to work with than the crew, or would you find that kind of people are people and it just depends on the person?
I would say that you kind of summed it up with people are people.
Okay.
At the end of the day, we all want what's best for, and not to be selfish about it, but ourselves. And we also want what's best for whatever's important to us. So if there is a crew member who feels like the show is the most important thing and they really want to see it succeed, then they're going to fall on the grenade to make sure that, that happens. And if there's a star who really just falls in love with the script and wants to see it made into a successful production, then they're going to do their utmost. It all depends on the person. I was very lucky in that our crew and our cast were great. Lots of different personalities, but in general, I think we all worked pretty well together.
What would you say has been your best experience so far?
Well, for me, I'm originally from southwestern Virginia, and I technically moved back to my hometown to take this job. So it's very exciting for me not only to be in this new environment doing something I love, but also in an area of the country that I love.
What has been your greatest challenge on the last film?
On the last film specifically, I would say time and budget. As with any other project that you're doing, you have to make sure that you punch that time clock appropriately, and there are only so many hours in the day. Now for us, we were really excited about Where Are You, Bobby Browning, and I think that enthusiasm was definitely contagious. There were definitely things that I would have loved more time to select locations, more time to get some more investors together, more time to break down the script to make sure that we had every little detail covered. But I think that sometimes when you do that, you almost lose your momentum. And you've got to strike when the iron's hot. It was the right time to do it. The fall was beautiful in Virginia this year, so I'm really excited that that was a successful production. But advice to other folks who are planning, make sure you plan to the nth degree and you do it as early as possible.